Cheers, I do, buckaroos, and how the heck are I going to be Tom the Beer and Whiskey Whisperer for the purposes of this video? Oh, man. I heard tonight, man. I was started to get this ready 30 minutes ago. It just took me a while because I'm not moving very fast. I haven't had anything to drink yet today. It's just been a long day. Between two jobs, I worked about 15 hours, and I'm just pooped, man. I'm just too old for that kind of behavior, man. I really am. Anyways, I digress. Let's have some beer and whiskey to try to alleviate some of that pain. See if I can adjust that camera slightly. It's hard to tell until I see it on here. There we go. Well, son of a bitch, why does it keep doing that? There we go. See if I can adjust that. And adjust this without nothing else to cooperate with me this evening. See where that gets us. Anyway. All right, see if we got that fixed now. Yep. Oh, now I got too much going the other direction. All right, thought I had it fixed there. See if I can make that adjustment again. Oh. Did I do it? Well, apparently that's as close as we're going to get tonight. I can't seem to get that to go where I want it to. Anyway, fuck it. Just fuck it. Hey, Ron, how are you, bud? I'm having troubles getting my angle right. So here's what I got, Ron. I've got some Mr. Ron. I've got so from Marshall's Brewing in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've got McNally's Pub Ale. And so it was being an Irish style ale. I decided to pair it with two Irish whiskeys from the same place, both from Restless Spirits. I've got their Gully Town American single malt whiskey. This particular whiskey, I believe, is 5 years old, and it's aged a lot like you would an Irish whiskey and use bourbon casks. I'm going to post your comments, Mr. Rod. Rod says, "Hi, Tom, and what are you drinking?" So the second whiskey, also from Restless Spirits, also a Gully Town whiskey, which is what they call their single malts. This one's a straight, this is a American straight single malt whiskey. So, but the big difference here is that it is aged in new charred oak cask. So this was aged much like a bourbon, although both are 100% malted barley. Okay, that's why you could. I'll show you the glasses here. You can really tell the difference in the pigment. This is the second one I showed you. So it looks more like a bourbon, while the first one looks a lot like an Irish whiskey. See the difference in color? Both are 100% malted barley. The difference being, the difference being how they're aged. They're both 5-year-old whiskeys. So this one's aged in used bourbon cask, so it's a little bit lighter. And this one is aged in new charred oak. So this one looks more like a bourbon. This one looks a lot like an Irish whiskey. All right. So this is my first sip of any alcohol this evening. Cilantro. Oh god, that's gorgeous. This one, it really feels a lot like an Irish single malt. You almost feel those honey heather notes you get from a good Irish single. A lot of vanilla running through there. Light toasted oak and a little bit of spice in the finish. Ron says, Prost. I'm going to use my Irish ancestry and say Sluncha. Yeah, here's to you, Ron. Hope you're doing all right this evening. Ron, if you're drinking something, tell me what you're drinking. Oh man. So yeah, the nose is a little deeper. Again, that malted barley is just gorgeous. I know it's not a phrase. I don't know another word. Coming from craft beer, I don't know another word to use, but it almost has that dankness, if you will. I almost feel like a very dark, almost burnt sugar toffee. Oh man, it's harder to tell which one I like better, to be honest with you, because I love the first one because it does remind me a lot of an Irish whiskey, and I do like Irish whiskey, single malt Irish whiskey, because you've got that 100% malted barley. The second one's really different because again, it's aged more like you would a bourbon, and there's new charred oak, but that 100% malted barley takes on those flavors and aromas much differently. So let's go to the beer then, shall we? Why do I have it poured in such a small glass, you might ask? Well, it's only Marshall glass I had. I wasn't going to do a different glass, but I just couldn't find the one glass I wanted to pour the whole 12 ounces. Anyway, once again, Sláinte. The first beer of the night. I worked around beer all day and didn't drink any. It's easier than you might think. Never drink during shift. I'll tell you, I used to hear a lot about folks complaining, especially uh, during 2020 and then when folks start getting back out again. And there's been a lot of controversial videos out there about tipping, and I really never thought too much about it. I always thought I was a pretty good tipper until I started really seeing what the guidelines were now. Growing up, I'm an older guy, so back when I was a kid, or even in my 20s, even in my late 20s, 10% was a standard tip, 15% was a really good tip, 20% was almost unheard of. But today's economy, 15% is almost chintzy, 20% is okay, 25% is pretty good. But I'd seen a lot of videos of folks saying, well, if you can't afford a tip, you shouldn't go out. Well, instead of being mad at the people that, maybe don't tip as much as you think they you should be mad at your employer for not paying you more. And again, I didn't think about it a whole lot till I started a job where a good portion of what I make is tips. But the truth is, I am rather lucky because the people that I work for pay more than what's standard hourly, I mean. But I have learned something, for me, I'm happy if of course, I want as much tips as possible because that's a good chunk of my pay. But the truth is, I'm not going to judge somebody for tipping, 15%, 10%, or even not tipping at all. The truth is, if they chose to go out, if they chose this place to go out, I don't know their situation. I don't know that maybe they haven't been able to go out for a long time. Maybe they've saved up as much as they can, and maybe they're just not aware of how much other people think they ought to tip. I feel like I try to be as grateful to the person that tips me nothing as the person that tips me 25% or better. Because creating goodwill is creating goodwill. I'm going to be as nice as I can to every customer that comes through there, whether they tip me very well or not at all. Because even if they don't tip at all, as you get to know people, most of the time, in all honesty, it's not personal. But sometimes it's a personal belief. I think everybody should tip something. Don't get me wrong, but I guess some people have certain things, and I'm not going to judge that. Yeah, you live your life, but again, folks that tip low say they're only tipping 10%. A lot of that is upbringing. They were taught a certain thing, and they haven't seen it change. And the truth is, if folks come out and have a couple whatever, and only tip me 10%. Am I going to be upset? No. I mean, I'm happy they came out. I'm happy they tipped me something. I'm grateful for whatever happens, and I don't understand the mentality of trying to shame people that don't tip as much as you think they ought to be tipping. Don't get me wrong, of course I want more tips. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, how about we just let everybody be who they are? I mean, some people are just skinfless. Some people are just tight asses. And I'm not going to treat them badly, and I'm not going to shame them for not tipping. They're going to get the same cordial greeting and thank you as somebody that tipped me extremely well. I just think we ought to be grateful for everything, whether they tip great or not. I struggle with this sometimes. Not that, but I struggle with what I'm about to tell you sometimes. But it's something I try to live by for the most part. Um, Ron gives me a face there. I try to live by for the, but sometimes it's difficult. But I try to kind of repeat this mantra to myself: is don't sweat the little shit. When I find myself getting mad about something silly, I'm trying to learn as I get older to, sometimes it's almost instinct just to yell that cuss word as soon as that thing happens. But then, then take a breath, try to get back to zen, and not let something small, upset your whole day. I'm gonna work on this lighter one first because the other one is so powerful. If I go back and forth, I'm gonna lose the flavor of this one. So I'm gonna focus all on the first Gully Town, which again is aged. It's 100% malted barley, aged and used bourbon cask. Much like a single malt Irish. So you get that 100% malted barley, and you feel that nice gentle sweetness, almost honey-like sweetness. Again, maybe that's why this one I'm very partial to because it does drink a lot like a good single malt Irish. It really does. It just goes down easy. It's smooth. It is subtle. It is subtle, but there is a lot of flavor going on. And sometimes you just got to work a little harder for delicate flavors, right? Not everything has to be bold and robust. All right, let's go back to Marshall here. I visited Marshall Brewery when my wife and I were in Tulsa. Oh gosh, almost 2 weeks ago now, or what is 2 weeks ago? More than that now. It seems like just yesterday. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, I did visit the brewery. I've had their beer before, in fact, several times, but it's the first time I've been able to visit the brewery. And I got to tell you, I was impressed. I liked the beer. But the beer tender behind the bar, I mean, he knew what he was talking about. He enjoyed answering questions, which if you work in a brewery, you have to enjoy answering because there's nothing that irritates me more is going to a pretentious brewery that gets mad when you ask them a question. Because that's what you're there for, man. You're there to answer those questions. You need to know what you're serving. You have to know what your beer is. If you don't, hell, you might as well be at an Applebee's. you know, um, I don't know. I'm not a fan of places that hire people that don't know anything about beer, but I'm also not a fan of places that are so extremely pretentious to act like it's above them to, or they shouldn't have to answer any questions. And I was at one of those breweries in Tulsa. I'm not going to mention the name. I will tell you the beer was very good. Like, everything else is just a little too much for me. I'm just too old school to deal with that kind of pretentiousness. Ah, that's good, man. Damn, that's good. Anyways, I digress. Sláinte, one more time. One more time. I'm feeling, Tom. I'm starting to feel better already. Oh, I was in such extreme pain this evening. Oh my lord, I was going to die. My feet hurt. There must be something in this corner. I can't figure out what it is where I'm doing the videos. I'm fine, and every time I get over here, my nose starts running and itching. There must be something over here that's irritating it, but for the life of me, I can't figure out what it is. Because it wasn't running before I came over this direction, so it's got to be something that's here, some kind of dust or something. But maybe my wife's got a plant over here that's slowly poisoning me. Anyways, I digress. It's slowly poisoning me. Yeah, he'll sit over there long enough, so it's not detectable. Yeah. She keeps slowly upping my life insurance, not to look obvious. she's playing the long game. She's playing the long game. Anyway, Ron gives me that face again. I'm gonna post it there. Anyway, Slancher. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel a lot better now. When I got home tonight, my feet were just killing me, man. You know, I was hurting while I was at work, but sometimes you don't really feel all of the pain until you're not there anymore. I got home and got my clothes off, got my feet up, and went, "Oh God, now I really hurt." Now things just really hurt, man. Anyway, Slancher. Yeah, I won't say that the other one is sweeter than this one, but the sweetness comes off a little bit different. It's more of a dark toffee like sweetness here. Oh, excuse me. Oh, that was painful, man. Uh, oh man, oh glad nobody was near me for that. Oh, that was brutal. Anyways, I digress. I will tell you one thing I really love about this whiskey, other than the flavors and aromas, is the mouthfeel, the viscosity. It just feels perfect. It's just silky smooth. I believe these are at 96%. I had my wife look at that the other day because they put their percent, the proof, in this tiny little thing. Even with my new glasses that I can really see this because it's really light. It's hard to with the I don't know. I can't fucking tell what that is. So you should take a look at that. See if you can figure it out. I think I can't tell if it's 92 or 96. Either way, I wish they'd make it bigger so, old people wouldn't struggle to read this some bitch. anyways, anyways, if I have a complaint about Restless Spirits, that would be the only thing is I don't like the bump, don't like the small lettering on the label. That kind of shit pisses an old man off. We're gonna go full curmudgeon on the lettering. Yeah, it's a tiny little thing there. How the hell's anybody supposed to read that? Anyway, Slancher. I love the chewiness of that 100% malted barley. It's why I'm really enjoying this relatively new category of the American single malt whiskey. Of course, you get Scotch and Irish and uh, Japanese single malt has really made a play. But I got to tell you, the American single malt whiskeys that I have had have been absolutely amazing. I love these two from Gully Town. I love Rivalist from Union Horse, and others that I've had here. Switchgrass, this one at 92 proof is very nice. I'm finding I really like the chewiness of that 100% malted barley. So anyway, anyways, that's chewiness. Anyways, anyways, I digress. Let me pour the rest of this beer into this tiny little glass. Been drinking it a little bit at a time, but I think I can get the rest of it in there now. There we go. We did. We did, baby. We got it. Anyways, so I typically I like to buy glasses. And I would buy a full size glass, but I really like this taster. Uh, it was a kind of a different shape for it. Almost looks to me anyway, like a miniature Boston Lager glass. Doesn't it? Tell me it doesn't. Looks like a mini Boston Lager glass. Looks like a dwarf Boston Lager glass. Dwarf, don't say dwarf, Tom. Anyways, I digress. Well, nobody says dwarf anymore, Tom. You can't do that. Anyways. I'm so tired and punchy. I've been up since about 5:30 this morning. I'm losing my marbles, and now that I've had a little bit to drink, the pain's still there, but I don't care as much. Alcohol doesn't get rid of all the pain, but you don't care quite as much anymore. Anyways, I digress. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom man. Damn, that's good. I'm also Tom the Beer Whisperer, Beer Evangelist, prolific beer drinker, purveyor of wisdom. Hey, thanks, Ron, and anybody else. Ron's the only one that comments. I'm going to thank you, Ron. Thanks, Ron. And anybody else that tuned in this evening. I am Tom the Beer Whisperer, Beer Evangelist, prolific beer drinker, purveyor of wisdom man. Ah, all around. Good guy, Sluntcha.